morning and good evening or good night, depending on where you are around the world. My name is Federico, and I'm one of the hosts of Inspire Talk, based in Melbourne, but also based throughout Australia and again around the world. And today we demystify essentially the topic of digital marketing. And I have a very special guest. His name is Jacob Warwick, which I'll introduce shortly. But essentially, the term digital marketing does obviously present a lot of challenges for entrepreneurs and business owners out there. There's obviously quite a lot to learn, but hopefully our discussion with Jacob will help us understand more about it, as he is an expert in that field. So without saying too much more, I'd like to formally introduce Jacob Warwick. How are you going, Jacob?
I'm doing better now that we got a little bit of the audio and video difficulties taken out of the way, but that's something that some of our entrepreneurs will be familiar with digital marketing. Not everything goes to plan.
Well, absolutely. And look, as you know, when you're dealing with technology, you can get all kinds of things, and certainly from experience, when you're dealing with Google Hangouts, you get all kind of wonders and surprises last minute. And it's great. I feel like I'm on a Apollo 13 mission to the moon, it's all experimental. Without saying too much more, Jacob, what I'd like to do is formally introduce you to our audience so that they know a little bit about you and your background. So I'm pretty much reading what you've got on your online profile, and you are the founder and digital marketing consultant of Think Warwick, based in San Francisco. Is that right?
Well, yeah, that's me. That's my tiny little agency.
Okay. Whilst tiny, you've certainly reached out there in the world, and that's why I noted you from all the way from Australia on the other side of the world. So obviously something is working. You're also the freelance writer, or a freelance writer of Entrepreneur.com magazine, which is quite a fairly prestigious opportunity to be writing for that company or publication in America. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. Entrepreneur is actually one of my favorite outlets to write in. I'm very passionate about entrepreneurs in general, kind of being your own boss mentality, and to those people that are willing to be scrappy to get what they want in life. So the publication kind of caters to what I like to share with the world.
Fantastic. And look, I've read some of your blogs, and they are certainly very appealing, and there's a lot of value, reading some of those throughout the month, definitely for me. And you're also a Forbes 30 Under 30 finalist, nominated this year. Is that right?
Actually, yeah, that was 2016. Well, I mean, we're in 16, but that class was elected, and so now I'm pushing for 2017. I'm damn close.
Well, congratulations so far, and I wish you all the best going forward. And look, for a guy who's under 30, I'm guessing you've achieved quite a lot. And I'd like to sort of pick your brain here so that the audience can sort of learn a little bit about what you do, how you got so far, and pretty much demystify, as I've said, the term digital marketing, because even for me, I still find that a fairly complex area of business. So I guess my first question to you is essentially what inspired you to specialize in digital marketing and to be that entrepreneur that you are?
Well, it kind of started like right out of high school. I was always kind of raised on a computer, seeing digital marketing all the time. Was heavily into photography and video editing in high school, and that turned into kind of my first skill set of graphic art and creating content, so to speak. Now I didn't know that's what it was called back then. I was a content creator. I noticed that all the people that wanted to hire me wanted to hire me to create their content, and that kind of turned into learning what kind of content I needed to create to continue to get hired. So I spent a lot of time on Google figuring out all of these things, learning from other marketing experts, and it's really kind of a passion of mine, because I don't think you can ever really get a full grasp on digital marketing because it's constantly changing. So if you're not really open to adapting and evolving quickly, then some of the trends are going to pass you by. That's not always necessarily a bad thing. You don't need to hop on every trend that there is, but there are certainly opportunities for a lot of people to make their mark in the world with digital marketing.
Absolutely, and I guess if you're trying to build world presence and a powerful brand, you do need to be present online, and not only present, you do need to be a pioneer and also innovate and pretty much disrupt what is out there at the moment. And as you've said, it is constantly evolving and constantly changing. and I'm guessing that a lot of the older generation probably struggle to understand how to, understand or use social media and everything else that goes around that. And being a young chap that you are, and I'm sure that you find that relatively easier to comprehend because it's a passion of yours, and also something that you invest your time in understanding. In terms of what is digital marketing, let's go back to the basics. 101 marketing. What is digital marketing? What does it entail fundamentally?
It's really just a platform, a promotion platform to get your expertise out to the world. It doesn't need to be any more complicated than that. It's a way for business owners and entrepreneurs to connect with their audience. And we say audience, but it's really, it could be the person that you're selling to. It could be the people that you're attracting to a local event. That's all marketing is getting the word out. And then understanding what the word needs to be to actually attract someone to what it is you're putting on. So at the end of the day, it comes back down to you as the business owner saying, how do I want my brand to be presented? What are the kind of people I'm trying to attract? And how do I get that message to them? And that's what digital marketing is at its core. There's no reason to overcomplicate it with, oh, well, here's the next social media platform, or here's the next way to reach someone. There are lots of different tactics to reach your audience. It all comes down to those core values all at the beginning.
So you talk about branding, and I guess it's about creating a powerful message out there about your product, your service, about your company, about yourself, I guess. And you've mentioned, that it constitutes a number of parts or components, and some of these terms that I've picked up on your profile, and obviously it's part of the digital marketing space, is pay-per-click advertising, landing page optimization, social selling tactics. I'd like you to demystify a little bit about what that's all about, because even for me, a lot of that is beyond me, and I guess even for my sake, I'd like to understand how it works for my business and how I can focus on that in that area.
Well, sure. So pay-per-click at its core is the actual cost of what it takes to get someone to click on a link to come to your website, right? So you go to Google and you say, when somebody searches for best ice cream in Melbourne, I want my brand name to come first. Say you're an ice cream shop owner. So whenever someone searches best ice cream, I want my name to come up. Now, Google's going to, or whatever advertising platform you're using, is going to bid that against other people that may also want to be bidding for that term. The more people that bid for that term, the higher the value is. So say there's 5 different ice cream shops, and you might start at 50 cents per click. That's how much it is worth for you to get someone to your website. Now, if you have a bunch of people doing it, that price is going to start going up until you start getting into much more complex terminology, and the bids go up. So that's the cost per click, right? So when I say complex, I mean certain things that you search online have different intent, right? So you may be searching to get information about ice cream. Now, someone that's looking to get information about ice cream is not necessarily going to purchase ice cream. So you might not want to be bidding on terms that are more general, like what is ice cream, right? That doesn't make sense for them to go to your website necessarily. Now, those terms are much cheaper on Google or wherever because they're not equaling equation or a conversion right away, so to speak. But a buyer intent keyword, like where to find the best ice cream, that's somebody that's looking to go purchase ice cream, so to speak, right? That key term is going to be more valuable because it means that somebody's already kind of targeted towards becoming a purchaser. So that's where pay-per-click kind of is at its core. It kind of is based on the intent of the searcher, and that's where the values come in, right?
So I guess, okay, continue on, sorry.
I know it sounds complicated, and marketers use a lot of different words that are kind of confusing to it, but at the end of the day, it's like when you go to Google, what do? Do you want to find information about something, or do you want to buy something? And think about how those searches look differently to you, or those questions that you ask. So as a business owner, you can bid on the questions that people ask or the key terms that people are looking for, and then deliver content that matches what they're looking for. So that really fits in all sides of the customer journey funnel, like where people are interested in ice cream and then they become aware of your ice cream shop and then eventually they want to make a purchase and they know of it from an earlier ad. That's when it starts getting all complicated. But at the end of the day, you just need to think about what your customers are looking for and then place a bid on that makes sense where you're going to see a return.
Okay,
so
I get it. So a question I have around that is about paying for that type of result or outcome. So of course, by paying more, you achieve better outcomes. I guess, do you always have to pay to be present and established online, or can you also achieve it organically or in any other way?
You definitely can achieve it organically, and this is kind of where there's some argument in the industry. Obviously, Google wants you to spend money to get to the top, right? They get paid when you do that. So it is a very relevant strategy. Now, it's not always relevant for every type of business model. So my dad, for example, is a disc jockey. I don't think he necessarily needs to be spending a whole lot of money online for his advertising. Yelp tries to get him to purchase advertising, companies like this, but at the end of the day, most of his clients still come from the Yellow Pages or a phone book, right? And that's only because his demographic is a little bit older than most. So certain companies will do better not online, so to speak. Doesn't mean it's not possible. It's just,
I guess the million-dollar question then is, at what point do you start to pay for that type of advertising? Does your brand need to be somewhat established already in the marketplace before you start to heavily invest in that area online? What is your general advice about someone who wishes to, present themselves online? Is it worth investing in that from day one, or is it better to kind of do it organically and connect with real people first and so forth?
The important part is to align whatever your advertising aspects are to your company goals. If you're looking to generate more awareness about your company, it does make sense to do paid advertising. The important thing isn't to just go into any one strategy full bore. Say, I'm going to do 100% paid advertising until you learn exactly kind of how your particular business can benefit from it. Now the problem is you'll hear marketing guys like me tell you, oh well, pay-per-click advertising is the way to go for this line of business, right? But everyone's business is unique, so not every use case is going to work the same. You're going to have different budget restraints. You have different technical knowledge than every other business out there. That's what's exciting for entrepreneurs. They get the opportunity to figure it out for themselves. Sure. So my advice is, should you do PPC advertising? Absolutely, I think you should try it. I don't necessarily think you need to throw 50% of your marketing budget on it or a certain amount. Maybe you should start slow and kind of test a few different things, test different messages and see how your audience or your customers respond to it. And then as you start seeing success, you can start scaling the ones that are working and then kind of dropping off of what's not working. So later down the line, that changes. It changes with the industry, and you can revisit stuff that wasn't previously working. But you don't necessarily need to just hop on board with everything. Just test things and scale appropriately so that you make sure that you're getting money back for what you're investing in.
That makes complete sense. So I guess you facilitate that process for the amateur business owner, perhaps, or the person who really doesn't understand the online space, is that you take them through a step-by-step process. Would that be right?
Right, and the most important part when you're consulting is the discovery process and really understanding what the business is trying to accomplish. And oftentimes with smaller companies, they don't necessarily know what that overall vision is, but they have the budget. Or sometimes they have the vision and they don't have the budget. So there are a lot of different challenges to overcome where you kind of custom fit a solution that works for them. Perhaps they don't have a lot of budget, but they have a nice awareness goal. Then they might want to start working on social media outlets and kind of communicating with other customers or other targeted people in their audience to see what they're looking for and then scale their efforts like that. So the whole being a digital marketing strategist and consultant is just that I really know about a lot of the different tactics. It's really about creating the right set of tactics for each business, which is always different, and that's one reason why it's so fun. And
Absolutely.
evolving.
You talk about tactics and strategies, and you've mentioned social media, of course, and I'm a big fan of LinkedIn, and I noticed that you are too. In fact, you've accumulated over 30,000 connections on LinkedIn, which is very, very impressive. Is it really about building the number of connections and fans that are following you? Is that the ultimate goal in spending money on pay-per-click advertising and so forth?
No, definitely not. It's I think with everything in life, even quality outweighs quantity. Now, quantity looks impressive, so you go, wow, that guy's got 30,000 connections. Well, there's no way I've met 30,000 people. Now, I would say about 20 to 25,000 of my connections work in digital marketing, and there was a strategy behind having that many connections, and that's when somebody is searching for digital marketing strategist or any keyword that I put in my headline on LinkedIn, my name's going to come up before everyone else's because we're connected already. So that was kind of the strategy there. Now, that being said, they have to be targeted and they have to be relevant. And I say I would rather have 20 really solid business connections than 30,000 just random people. So targeting is really, really important, particularly in digital marketing. And you can talk to any small business owner or any company that's strapped for cash, where they're not just aimlessly testing new things. They know right off the bat, I'm going to invest in this because it's going to bring a certain amount of money back. So it's the same with your connections. I'm going to invest in these relationships because they provide some kind of value to me and I can provide value to them.
So in terms of selecting your preferred social media platform, such as LinkedIn, is it worthwhile commencing with all types of social media platforms like Facebook and LinkedIn, or is it worth just focusing on one that might be more appealing to your target market? What would be your advice around that?
Again, yeah, I would definitely focus on the ones more relevant to my target market. So for me, that's Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. But each network kind of has its own value to it, right? I use LinkedIn primarily as a research tool to get to know more about people that they wouldn't share on Facebook or they wouldn't share on Twitter. They share more of their professional background. It helps me assess kind of where someone's marketing maturity level is, where their business acumen came from. You can see degrees, you can find all of that information. You kind of get a pretty good idea of where this person is maturity-wise, right? Now, when I want to actually do business with that person, I want to take that conversation to Facebook, which is weird, right? I mean, it has a whole different purpose. People open up on Facebook. You can start to learn more about their personal lives, and I don't mean that in a way to be creepy or to kind of stalk them. It's more of finding ways that you have commonality and things that you share together. And then Twitter is more of a tool that I use, again, for research, but learning about what people are talking about. Finding communities that serve a certain purpose. Google Plus is kind of like that too. There are still little communities within Google Plus that are maybe all analytics focused people that have a heavy acumen in Google Analytics, or people live in these different little silos. However, most people live on Facebook, and that's still the case.
So in terms of your social media efforts, how important is editorial, blogging, posts, etc.? What's your experience on that, based on the fact that you are specializing in freelance writing, I guess? What's your intake on how important it is for any individual to be somewhat committed to editorial and communicating the word out there?
Well, editorial is very important. I wouldn't say that everyone needs to have editorial for other businesses, or they don't need to publish an entrepreneur, they don't need to do these kind of things, right? That's my strategy as a consultant, because people that hire marketing consultants are on those publications, right? But if we take it down to like the basic entrepreneur level, say, and I don't mean basic as in, I'm just saying something a little bit more easier to comprehend, like the ice cream shop owner. The ice cream shop owner wants to write and edit copy related to ice cream, right? Related to what his customers want. And there's some pretty passionate ice cream aholics, so to speak, right? And the editorial part of that is really important because you're understanding what those, your customers are interested in, and you're creating content around that. So it is important, and it is, do I think that you need to blog every day as an ice cream shop owner? No. I mean, you're going to know what moves the needle and what isn't. But you're going to also know you'll have intimate knowledge with your customers, and you'll know what they consistently ask for, and you'll create content like, oh, all of our customers were interested in this one particular kind of chocolate ice cream, and now we've gotten that for them and created a piece of content around that. That could be a blog post, right? And just something to share with them. And it doesn't have to always be digital. You can send it, in your flyers and stuff in store, and then also relate that back to Facebook. It doesn't need to be absolutely insane to be successful.
Absolutely. Look, that's great advice. So you've answered that second question I had of how frequent do you need to engage in editorial and post, and you've said not every day necessarily, but if you've got engaging content and it's a passion of yours, perhaps so. My next area of focus, I guess, between us is to really understand how to develop a competitive edge in your market, given that I'm sure that there are a lot of people in your space trying to do the same thing. What are a couple of tips you can offer anyone in any field of expertise how to gain a competitive edge using digital marketing, I guess? Sort of think around it that way.
So the cool thing about digital marketing and kind of, I guess, our era now is that a lot of information is online. A lot of good information, a lot of bad information, just a lot of information, right? It's a lot of noise. If you want to get a competitive edge, then you need to really, really dive into all of your competitors, all other people you aspire to be, companies you may aspire to be, and when I say hop into it, I mean obsess about it, right? When we start a strategist campaign, or we're consulting to do a strategist for, let's say, a gym, we know every single gym in that area. We do research on every keyword they're targeting. We know what their audience look like. We know what reviews are negative and positive, where the pros and cons are, and that's how you learn how to manipulate your business to focus on your, we call it SWOTs, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. You want to emphasize your strengths while minimizing your weaknesses, improve your opportunities, and minimize your threats. So you'll see which companies become threats, and you'll only kind of get that insight if you obsess about them and really dive into it. So that's kind of it at the very, very top level. Obviously, it's always going to change based on the industry you're in, so it's a very difficult topic to answer appropriately and with the right amount of empathy.
That's great advice. And I guess staying on the topic of competition, how important is technology and using things like mobile apps, etc., relevant to digital marketing and also an instrumental area of remaining competitive and, I guess, disruptive too?
Well, I mean, it's going to depend on your business model. Not every company is going to need to use a mobile app. I think that at the very core, you should be aware of what people are saying about your business on the popular ones. You should know what people say about you on Yelp, Facebook, LinkedIn, if it's possible. You should just know kind of where your audience likes to be, and then use digital as a way to see if that's a relevant avenue for you to pursue. Like if you have a mobile app business, you're going to want to invest in mobile apps, or more or less, right?
Sure.
The scheme is, I would say, at least in America, mobile is becoming more and more and more popular. You're going to keep hearing about it as less people are on their laptops and their computers. So your website has to appear good on mobile. It has to be optimized for mobile. There are other things that start getting more complex, like the words that you use, the file sizes, like all of these things. It's just, at the end of the day, you need to know where your audience is coming to you, what they're looking to find, what device they're using, which in most cases in the United States is becoming mobile, and then how to present that information clearly and efficiently. The best advice around that I would be able to give, and this is, again, more general advice for marketing, just have a keen level of insight into being empathetic for your audience. Always put yourself in the customer's shoes. If I was purchasing my ice cream, what would I need, right? What would be, you're constantly doing things like that rather than grouping all of your people into numbers. Marketing folks really like to do that, digital marketers in particular. Well, we had 17% conversions here, and we had we had 600 people sign up. That's great, but who are those people at an individual level? You need to understand that and their mentality. and you start treating people like people and not like numbers. That's kind of the biggest advice I can give them that. Now,
That's
that's a little off
fantastic.
topic from your question, but that's
No, that's good. You've certainly offered some golden nuggets, as we call it in our show. And just for the viewers, as we do have a few people listening in today or tonight, we are talking to Jacob Warwick. He's the founder and digital marketing consultant of Think Warwick, based in San Francisco. He's also a freelance writer for Entrepreneur.com magazine. And also he's been nominated as a Forbes 30 Under 30 finalist, and we wish him all the best in terms of winning the final award. So far, Jacob is offering us some great tips, and some of the golden nuggets that we have so far is about knowing your target market when establishing your digital marketing strategy. Focus on Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn are his top 3 preferred areas of starting that area.
just to clarify, that's for my business model.
Sure.
So I'm in a B2B industry. That's why Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn are still the big 3 for me. If you have a fashion industry, I mean, Instagram is huge, Snapchat is huge. It's going to really come down to your target. So keep in mind where your customers live, and that's where you want to be.
Thank you, Jacob. Find your community, or basically establish your community, which is your target market, and engage with those people, perhaps through editorial. Maybe commit to editorial every so often. Maybe it's more about frequency than it is about doing it every day as such. It's more about engaging in good content. And what was interesting about what you said, Jacob, was about being empathetic towards your customers. I haven't actually heard that term used much before in terms of how do you best relate to your customers. I quite like that term, and I guess something to really think about is developing genuine, real relationships with people. Then it is about simply, firing a lot of blanks out there and simply getting the numbers of connections. Is that right?
Yeah, and I will give a shout out to Anne Handley. I don't know if you've heard of her in Australia, but she wrote a book called Everybody Writes, and it's tips on how to improve your writing. And one of her key focuses was on empathy, to really understand what the reader's looking for and focus your writing. So I don't think I stole it from her, but I will give her credit because she heavily influences me, and I also tend to agree with her on the empathy aspect. So that's Anne Handley, and she's from Marketing Profs out here in Boston, in the United States. So definitely give her a check out if you're interested in learning more about empathy. She's more of an expert than I am.
Well, absolutely, and I guess leading towards the end of my questions, I'm conscious of our time, is if I wanted to engage in some digital marketing, and obviously I have a small budget, where do I start, and most importantly, how would I connect with you, and how would I maybe develop some kind of relationship with you, given that you're based in the US?
Sure. Well, email works great. My website is not super resourceful, but it does have my contact information. So at thinkwarwick.com, you can reach out to me. I always respond to all of my emails as long as they're genuine and not spammy. But the most important research tool that you have is actually the internet and your customers themselves. So if you start to have a hunch that you need to start doing more digital marketing, start Googling it. I mean, it is as simple as that, and asking your customers what they would feel about the ideas that you have. At the end of the day, they're the ones that pay the bills, so make sure it's something they're interested in before investing too heavily in something.
Fantastic, and it's great to know that we can reach you on that website. And I'm not sure if you've had the thought of maybe having a special offer for anyone who connects with you in the coming days, if they've listened to this particular radio show. Maybe have a think about that over the next 1 or 2 minutes. And for our listeners, in terms of forthcoming events, we do have a great lineup of special guests coming shortly, including Sam Moran on the 6th of September. We also have Janine Ellis on the 8th of September, and also Christina Carlson on the 20th of September. All these individuals are serial entrepreneurs themselves, and very much like Jacob, we are in the world of entrepreneurship, and I guess our audience does include aspiring entrepreneurs, business leaders, and anyone who basically wants to be successful in their own right. So I guess, Jacob, just to wrap up for today, do you perhaps have anything that you would like to offer our audience?
Well, I have lots of content I can share. I don't do a whole lot of offers, I guess. I'm trying to think of, my business model is so custom built that I guess we could talk about that later. You caught me off
Absolutely.
guard. I don't do coupons or anything, but then again, I'm more of a freelance writer, and I go to different publications and stuff. So I'm sure there's some kind of opportunity there that I'm just not thinking of right now.
Well, look, I appreciate that, Jacob, but I did, catch you off guard. But obviously, you're very much present online, and if you simply go to your website, which is again,
www.thinkwarwick.com.
fantastic.
I guess I do free discovery calls, so it's good to kind of talk through some of those issues. I'm not someone that will force working with a bad fit. I can help you kind of work through and find next steps. And I'm not somebody who's over salesy, and that's probably the detriment of my business, is that I'm a great marketer and I'm a terrible closer when it comes to selling.
And look, I've got to compliment you as well. Just looking at your LinkedIn profile, looking at your editorials on Entrepreneur.com, for example, you do write some engaging content, very informative. So for anyone out there that really wants to grasp and learn the fundamentals of digital marketing, go to your LinkedIn profile and also Entrepreneur.com. So having said that, Jacob, I'd like to say thank you for your time. It's been a pleasure talking to someone on the other side of the planet. In fact, I didn't ask what time it was in your city at the moment.
I think it's 5:30. It's Monday though, so I can't verify that.
Okay, fair enough. So it's quite early here in the morning. But anyway, we'll wrap up and we'll go off there. And thanks again, Jacob, for your time.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.